All right, good afternoon. I think it's really fitting that the global conference is centered around innovating customer engagement. And our next speaker, who's providing you these great treats, Barry Calpino, is the Vice President of Breakthrough Innovation with Kraft Foods, leading the Global Innovation Center of Excellence for Kraft. Amongst his Center of Excellence roles, Barry oversees the Corporate Breakthrough Innovation Group and is on the Kraft North American leadership team, leading innovation across the Kraft North American teams. He has over 18 years of CPG brand marketing experience, with over 13 of those years spent mostly or solely on leading innovation. It's hard not to notice Kraft in the news as of late. They have risen to the top tier level of innovation performance in the CPG industry, with the recent launch of over 70 new products in early 2012. And I don't know about you, but calculations, that's pretty early still, because we're only starting the second quarter. I'm very impressed, and I'm not really sure what Barry and his team will do for an encore for the balance of the year, but I'm a very happy stockholder. So my vote is that the momentum will continue, and I'm sure that it will. Barry has been with Kraft since 2009, leading CPG companies he has worked for in innovation, including SC Johnson, Kellogg's, and Wrigley, where he led gum and candy innovation for North America. Not too bad of a job. Prior to coming over to Kraft, Barry has an undergraduate degree in marketing from Marquette and his MBA from Kellogg Northwestern. Prior to entering the CPG world, Barry spent 6 years at Illinois Bell and Ameritech in a series of advertising and research roles, but I think he's found his niche in what he's doing today. Barry's originally from Chicago, go Cubs, and he resides there today, where he's married with 3 kids. And ironically, Barry's oldest child is a sophomore here at U of A. And she's not here because she's such a good child, she's actually at class. So I'm not sure if that was by design, Dad, but please join me in welcoming Barry Calpino.
Okay. Thank you. All right. Thank you. How you guys doing? We should have brought some milk too, right? All right, so great introduction. This is my bio on one page. I had to add the U of A logo to it. And what's fun about this whole conference is when all the invites happened to have me come here, no one knew that I had any connection to U of A. So I felt like there was a lot of karma involved in me being here today. I'm excited, really excited. And then a month ago, I read that Terry Lundgren has been nominated to the board for Kraft. So there's even more karma here today. But unfortunately, I'm now giving, I guess, a board presentation instead of what I had planned originally. And then another problem I have is that you'll find if you work with Innovators, they have active right brains. If you guys have read much about left and right brains, the right brain has a mind of its own. And I had this great Kraft story to tell you that was done. We went on spring break. I came literally from spring break here, and I had the whole thing done. But right before we left for spring break, my son told me he had to get something at Best Buy. And I was really upset because the Best Buy in Skokie is usually absolutely insane, and it was the day before our trip. So we drove to Best Buy, we got there, and we walked in the store, and my son spent the whole time in the store asking me, why are there no people in here? It was really bizarre. The store was like empty, and it was prime time on a Sunday afternoon. I said, Ben, are you complaining? There's no line to check out. And we got out of there really quick. We also went to Dick's. There's some Dick's people here. Dick's, by the way, was packed. So whatever you guys are doing, Best Buy should talk to you, because you can buy all the Dick's products on Amazon too, I believe. Then we were in New York on vacation. We went to this place. We went to the Apple store in New York City, and we were in there at 10:30 at night. And there was like hundreds of people hanging out in this store at 10:30 at night. They're actually open 24 hours a day. And while I was there, a guy in a blue shirt, without an appointment, fixed a nagging problem with my iPhone in like 30 seconds. And the survey you took about helpful people, the best I've ever seen are at this place, the Genius store with the blue shirts. And then on Friday, near the end of our trip, we decided to enter the chaotic world of the Museum of Natural History. And I was standing late in the day, and I was staring at this. And my kids and my wife were at another part of the exhibit. And for some reason, I just kept staring at this. One was the scale. And when you're there, you're like, wow, these things were huge. But obviously what hits you is that they're all gone. And it hits you that they dominated and ruled the world. And now they're all gone. And there's this weird feeling when it hits you. And you're staring at the skeleton, and you're like, this thing was once alive and just ruled the world, and it's now extinct. And so before I tell you the craft story, I had this moment where I started thinking about extinction, which is not a really upbeat concept, but and I was thinking about Best Buy and Apple and Amazon and all these kinds of extinction concepts and who's thriving and who's surviving. And then I said, what about food? I work in the food industry, and this is a conference about customer engagement. And I decided to step back from craft a bit and think about food engagement and how is the food industry doing? Are we going to be like this T-Rex or not? And it's a question for craft as well, which I'll get into. And as I was standing there Friday afternoon, I actually was flooded with tons of really, really exciting, fun, great special examples of customer engagement in food retailing. So I decided, as I got on the plane home, I said, I'm cursed again. I can't shut off this part of my brain. I got to rewrite the whole presentation, which if anyone saw me here Tuesday night, I was putting all these pictures in here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to talk for a few minutes about all the great things happening in food innovation at retail. And my overall conclusion is it's a really, really exciting time for the food industry. And then I'm going to talk about craft. And I'll start with my trip. So one of my first big insights was that my first several examples I've personally experienced in the last week. Some of you guys may have heard of Tom Kelly. He's the CEO of IDEO. He gave a great speech at the Nielsen 360 conference last year, and he said there's 3 secrets to all successful innovators, and the first one was just to observe and pay attention. And if you do that really, really well, you're well on your way. So this is what I've observed in the last week. Any guys know who this guy is? This is Adam Richman. He's the host of a TV show which my kids watch all the time. It's a family show. We actually, I don't know if it is a family show, but we watch it together as a family. It's called Man vs. Food. And this guy travels the country to find really special places in all these cities. And at the end of every show, he has to challenge to eat the biggest, nastiest thing on the menu. And if he wins, he beats the food. It's Man vs. Food. But it celebrates food. The show is a celebration of food. And he went to this place, Lindy's on 4th. He went to Tucson. He did a show on it. We took our family there last fall when we came here for the football game, which they lost to Stanford, like 48-20. I've yet to see Arizona win, by the way, as a parent. We've been to like 3 football games, or 0-3. But we went to Lindy's, and my kids thought it was the greatest burgers they've ever had in their life. So did I. So now when I fly to Tucson, when I get the rental car, the first place I go is Lindy's. And I went there on Tuesday afternoon. I had the Texas Belt Buckle Burger, which is barbecue sauce, cheddar, bacon, and their burgers are like charred on the outside, juicy on the inside. The place is kind of strange and fun. All the burgers have fun names. My kids, there's one with mac and cheese on top of the burger. My kids love that, in honor of craft, of course. And then on the TV show, he actually had to eat this. This is a 12-patty burger. So I had a single Tuesday. You can order as many as 12. And if you eat 12, they put your picture on the wall. And the name of this burger is the OMFG burger. And I'm not making that up. And if you watch the show, Adam Richman could not finish this burger. But if you go there, they have the pictures of all the people who have. It's such a great place that I used to go here when I came to Arizona. We used to go, wow, In-N-Out Burger, the coolest, greatest place for consumer engagement in the fast food world. And we would get off the plane and we'd go right to In-N-Out. Lindy's has totally eclipsed In-N-Out for me. Then I thought about New York. When we got to New York, we stayed at the hotel, the Parker Meridian on 57th Street. And as we were checking in, the first thing we saw was this curtain. And this curtain had a rope line. And we're like, wow, there's a nightclub at our hotel right in the lobby. And the line was really long. And every single person was like, why are these people in line? Why is there a rope line? Anybody here know why they're waiting in line? To have a burger. This hotel created a burger place called the Burger Joint that feels like a burger joint, like from 50 years ago. It's greasy, the service is terrible, they yell at you. You have to order off of a cardboard on the wall. People write all over the walls. The television is like from the 60s. And people wait in line to get into this place all day long. This is retail at its best, true excitement in food. Here's some pictures of the inside of the store, which I took. Notice the food and it's cash only. Then we went to this place. You know, I'm an innovation in food, and everybody that presents to us says the hottest trend in food right now is meatballs. I'm like, well, I've been eating meatballs since I was a little kid. How is that a hot trend? Everybody eats meatballs, but meatballs is a big deal in all these presentations. So we went to this place called the Meatball Shop. We walked in at noon when they unlocked the door. By 12:15, the place was packed, and there was a line to get in. Wouldn't everybody in this room who works in the retail business love to have a rope line to get into your store? And there's a reason. These guys celebrate meatballs. They romance meatballs. They serve them a million different ways. They are awesome. This was the meatball plate. This is the Meatball Hero, which my son Jacob was loving every bite. And my other son had meatball sliders. That's exciting food retailing. Then there's this place called the Shake Shack in New York. Another place which had a rope line. Again, another place with a rope line for consumers who are dying to get in and buy the product. Really fun menu, basic stuff, burgers, fries, milkshakes. But I know we have a lot of pet folks in the room today. Look at this. This is on the menu. This is on the menu at the Shake Shack. A special little creative touch that allows them to connect with dog owners. Really fun. And this place is jam-packed, and I just love this. They actually have something on their menu for your dog. Then we found this candy store called Papa Bubble. And by the way, if anyone wants a list of all these places, especially the students for your next trip, I'll send that to you guys after I'm done. This is a little tiny candy shop in between Little Italy and Soho, and what they're famous for is they make the candy right in front of you. What a cool idea. The guy makes the candy while you watch him. And by the way, this picture captures about half the kids that were watching. Their parents were behind them with their credit cards out. And you had to really fight to see them making this candy. What an incredible experience. And the candies they make are beautiful, they're creative, they're different, they're fun. They're not like your typical candy. We also went to a place called Economy Candy. Economy Candy's been around since 1937, and it's got candies stacked to the ceiling everywhere you turn. It's like a antique store of candy. There were like 80% adults in here, and everyone was laughing and joking and buying. Lots and lots of candy, lots of nostalgia in this place. It was such an exciting candy shop. I wish I could describe it to you. You have to kind of go in there. There's just candy everywhere, and from all over the world as well. Then there's the M&M store, which, I was like, well, the M&M store is touristy. It's New York, Times Square. But my son begged me to take him there, and I had really low expectations. But if you haven't been there, they also do an incredible job of engagement. And the one thing I remember the most about the M&M store was they had really loud music, like club music of current hits that all the kids know. And so when you're in there, the energy level is so great, that you just feel it when you're in the store. And so even though it's packed and chaotic, there's a real fun feel to it. And we ended up staying at the store for about an hour. This is Jacob with the M&M guy. And what I'll tell you is we went across the street to the Hershey store 2 nights later. We were in there for a total of about 2 minutes. So it's not just put up a store and you get engagement. It's how you execute it. And if you go to the Hershey store, if anyone's been there, and I'm sorry if I offended anyone from Hershey in the room today, but if you go to the Hershey store and you go to the M&M store, it's the greatest example of someone who nails it and someone who doesn't nail it. And the kids are the ultimate judge on this stuff. Then there's the old Carnegie Deli, hardly a trendy place, but we have Oscar Meyer at Kraft, we have Kraft Cheese, we're in the sandwich business, and these guys celebrate sandwiches so much so that they have a line to get in. There's a theme, hopefully, in some of these examples. This was their pastrami sandwich. About 5 people would take to eat one of these things. But when you were in there, there was this buzz and this energy, and you're like, this is what engagement feels like. Energy, buzz, excitement, laughter, people loving the food. By the way, people serving the food loving it. And then to take it up to a whole nother level, has anyone been to this place? Oh my God. This place makes the Apple store seem like the Best Buy we went to on Sunday. This place makes the Apple store seem like the Best Buy store we went to on Sunday. This is an absolutely dazzling retail concept. They bought out like 3 square blocks, I think, in New York City, and it's a blend of restaurants, sit-down restaurants, supermarket, shop, butcher, and it's organized by like meat, fish, cheese, gelato, coffee, wine, and there's a restaurant in the middle of each area, and it all kind of works. It all connects, and you can't describe it unless you've been there. It is absolute insanity, the amount of people that are in this place, and they're spending so much money, and the price tag is really high on everything in here. But the buzz, Mario Batali is the guy behind it. He's drinking coffee, but when you're in there, you don't really need coffee. The place just gives you energy when you walk in. They had this vegetable butcher. You give them the vegetables, they wash it for you, and they clean it. It's just an amazing experience. And then this picture, which didn't come out well, this is a rope line at Italy for gelato. A rope line for gelato. So you've got engagement when consumers will wait in a rope line to have gelato. This place just blew me away, blew my kids away. My wife spent a lot of money in this place, and if you're in New York and you want to see engagement, now some may say that's all a New York thing, but I believe that if you really deliver a special retail experience with food, it doesn't matter where you are. This is a picture I took at the corner of Pulaski and Grace in Chicago, which is not a busy, trendy neighborhood. It's called Old Irving Park. There's a restaurant called Smoke. These guys, they treat barbecue like the Meatball Shop treats meatballs, and this was a line one night just to get into this restaurant to sit down and order and eat barbecue, which you have plenty of options all over Chicago. And then there's, you can say, well, these are all restaurants. What about retail stores? My son has allergies, and my wife one day said, before we go out today, we have to go to this incredible New York store that has these really wide aisles, great lighting, great products. It's just a great store. I've never seen these stores anywhere. And she couldn't think of the name of the store. So we went to this store one night, took a bunch of pictures. Look at this produce. Anyone want to guess what store this is? Duane Reade. My wife thought it was like Whole Foods, and it's Duane Reade. And if anyone's been in New York for a long time, Duane Reade's, if we got in the time machine even 10 years ago, a Duane Reade store wouldn't elicit a lot of excitement or engagement. These were kind of old, beaten up stores that had great locations. The story behind Duane Reade is amazing, what they've done. I've met the people behind it. It's a great story for the students to learn, to have someone come in and tell the story. And interestingly enough, we had the opening in Chicago of this great, cool new Walgreens store downtown, and it looks exactly like the Duane Reade stores in New York City, because Walgreens recently acquired Duane Reade. So good ideas travel very quickly. And we're hoping in Chicago that our Walgreens stores soon will look like and feel like Duane Reade stores. Then there's Whole Foods. You can't talk about retailing and food without mentioning Whole Foods. It is not a mainstream concept. It does appeal to the highest end of the market, but they've done some amazing things recently. If you're in Chicago for business, spend 2 hours, get in a cab and say, I want to go to Goose Island and see their concept store. It is in the same league as Italy in terms of the experience. They've gone over the top on food court. They have bars. People sit and drink wine. They drink beer. They watch TV. There's a whole center restaurant where they make Asian food live right on front of you. They have all different ethnic cuisines, and of course they have their own gelato, which seems to be part of every concept lately. It's an amazing place, and it's over the top, it's exciting, and the people behind it clearly, their mission was to create a really special experience. You say, well, Whole Foods is the high end. What about the big chains? What's going on there? Anyone know H-E-B in San Antonio? Their claim to fame, which they talk about, is that they have the highest sales per square foot of anyone in the grocery business. And they're in San Antonio. And you're like, what are they doing? So I guess we're in the 1% of the Nielsen sample. We're doing a lot of work with Hispanics on innovation right now. And you'd be crazy not to, actually. It's kind of how we talk about it. And we went down to H-E-B to really understand what the retail experience is like for the best run chain in this space. This is an H-E-B store with an enormous agua fresca center where they make them right in front of you. They make tortillas right in the grocery store. The place is off the charts, and it's also off the charts on value. Really, really aggressive pricing, aggressive price points, aggressive promotions. They call these combo locos. They do everything right. So we were here in the morning, and we had our agua fresca at about 9 a.m. Around lunchtime, we were in an H-E-B store in an area of San Antonio that has very little Hispanics. And same chain, instead of the agua fresca stand, there was the cooking connection, which had a chef giving cooking classes how to make high-end dinners. And for lunch that day, in this H-E-B, we all ate sushi. And so these guys are amazing. And they will tell you that there's probably 8 or 9 different H-E-B formats just in San Antonio. So if you want to go see someone who really, really is good, they would be one of them. Another one is Walmart. Walmart is doing so many things with online innovation, in-store. Their Sam's division has been reinvented. They're also launching these express stores in urban areas. The urban market is a big, big opportunity. For those of you, there's 78 million boomers out there. A lot of the boomers are moving into the cities as their kids, the ones that don't still live with them, we heard about this morning. They're moving into the cities. So there's a huge, huge opportunity for the urban market. Duane Reade wants it. Walgreens wants it. A lot of people want it. And then you say, well, Whole Foods is the high end. There can't be any special engagement innovation at the dollar store level. We were in Nashville a few months ago, and we went to Dollar General's headquarters, and they took us to a bunch of their prototype, their concept stores. And we were in these stores, and if you had blindfolded me and said, where am I? You'd say, there's no way on earth I'm in a dollar store. Because we all have this image, for those of us who don't shop a lot in dollar stores, and it's the fastest growing channel in the food business. Dollar stores and clubs are the fastest growing channels. And the dollar stores, first of all, they're filled with brands, so they're great for companies like Kraft, and they're doing a lot to make the consumer experience great. So why should the consumer experience not be great at a dollar store? So these guys, this was one of the stores we went to. We took a lot of pictures that day. Then when I got back to Kraft, I stopped at Kraft before coming here. I said, give me a list. I talked to my really good friends in sales, and I said, who are the companies who are really innovating on engagement? Who's doing special, exciting things in the grocery business. This is the list I got. And there's brands that aren't on here that should be on here. Ahol's doing some amazing things. Target just is rolling food out. They're like in the 3rd year of rolling food out in all their stores. But every brand on this page is doing something interesting and exciting around different formats, different consumer experiences, and what I would call reimagining the whole experience. And that's grocery. Even fast food right now, there's a lot of special things going on. Has anyone, if you haven't seen this, I'll be shocked. Has anyone seen this? If anyone buys from a vendor the top 10 new product list for next year, you should save your money. This is number 1. This is the Harry Potter of the food business. The USA Today did a great article about it. The highest testing product like in the history of fast food. Their biggest issue has been supply. And they actually delivered to the Doritos lover the Dorito experience. My 14-year-old has had about a dozen of these so far. It's an incredible success story. Great innovation in fast food. This thing is a monster success for Taco Bell. And that's the theme. So my observation for you today is that the words that hit me as I thought through all these examples was imagination and also reimagination. We use a word in CPG companies we call renovation. Well, a renovation has a lot of negative connotation, but if you really think about it, the word reimagination is a very powerful word. It's thinking about possibilities. It's thinking about what could be done. When you look at a Duane Reade store before and after, that is reimagination. That's not a renovation. So a lot of great stuff going on. It's an exciting time. I would not say that the food retail business is close to this point. But what I would say is if you're in a food retailer and you're not doing some of these things, and there are some big ones that aren't, it's probably a time where this is a real possibility because there's so much great innovation happening in terms of the food consumer shopping experience, which gets us to Kraft. We live in this world. Kraft Foods, a $50 billion food company, about to be split into 2 companies, one $27 billion with a North American footprint, which I'm going to be part of personally, one with more of a global footprint, $33 billion, called Mondelez International. We live in this world. We have hundreds of brands, and we have the same issues. We don't want to be the dinosaur either. We don't want to be like this T-Rex. Oh, I remember Kraft. They were a great food company back in the day. Same kinds of issues. So we've been on a mission ourselves, and it does link to what I've been talking about. Lisa, you introduced me. The Altria folks, hopefully they're feeling better today because when Kraft did its IPO, it was around $31. And by the mid to late 2000 decade, it got as low as $22, in spite of all these great brands. And Irene Rosenfeld was brought back to Kraft to bring Kraft back to its former greatness. And she's been on a mission as the CEO since day one. And she's brought in a lot of folks, and she's re-energized a lot of folks inside the company to get Kraft back to where we always say where we belong, not where we aspire to be. And so we've been on a mission at Kraft. Today the stock is closer to 38, I believe, so Lisa's in a great mood today. But innovation has been our story recently, and that's the part of the Kraft story I'm going to cover. This is a key point. So any leaders in the room, it's mostly leadership, and if you've ever started down one of these paths, you have to realize that if you're going to get really, really aggressive and serious about innovation, your top management has to be all in. You've heard a lot of all-in CEOs today who are just completely invested in their companies. That's what it takes. That's what it takes. And that's what's happened at Kraft in the last 2 years, starting with Irene and the board. Tony Vernon, our head of North America, who's now the CEO of the North American Kraft. Across the senior leadership team, there was a top-to-bottom total commitment to get us back to the top in terms of innovation. When I came to Kraft, I was at Wrigley and having a great time, and I met Irene, and I walked out of her office, and I was like, I got to jump on this bus because these guys are serious. They were also serious that we weren't doing really well. And one of the great traits of leadership is to be really, really honest about how you're doing. We did this big, look in the mirror exercise. Can be painful, right? Someone mentioned good to great earlier today. One of the big ideas in good to great is called face the brutal facts. Companies that are great face the brutal facts. They embrace them, they hug them, they talk about them, they deal with them, they don't run away from them. And that's what happened at Kraft about 2 years ago. And we looked at ourselves and we said, we were performing near the bottom of our industry and innovation. We're not doing well. And we totally recommitted. And we looked at everything that wasn't going well, and we committed to doing it either better or differently completely. We put huge amount of attention to it, from all the way from Irene down to all of our senior leaders. Tony, our head of North America, where we really had poor performance, he committed to quarterly 2-day meetings just to go through the innovation pipeline with me, and he still does them with me. That's commitment. So when your CEO is spending 2 days a quarter digging through the innovation pipeline, it means innovation matters. And we also spent a lot of time talking about focus. Kraft, in our worst year, we launched like 125 new products. We mentioned 70 today. You know what we called them at Kraft? We called them new items. So our sales organization and everyone inside Kraft called them items. Language is important. So the word item certainly doesn't sound exciting, does it? Who wants to go buy an item? Who's going shopping for an item? How many items have won awards? We said, hey, let's stop launching items and let's get serious. And the word we use now is platforms. We talk about multi-year new businesses and getting really, really serious. And frankly, we were trying to launch items to make up the gap because we didn't have any big new products. And the story we used all the time inside Kraft was from Fast Company to kind of make the point. This is Mike Parker, and who would not want to have this in your life on the cover of Fast Company, the world's most creative CEO? You may not know this, but his first day on the job, when he became CEO, he called Stephen Jobs his good friend, because there's the Nike Plus shoe, there's a big Apple-Nike partnership. They were friends, and he said, hey, do you have any advice? And who would not want to have that phone call? He said one thing. He said, Nike makes incredible products, stunning products. Who would not want to have Stephen Jobs tell you this? It's like the ultimate great feedback. So Mike Parker's feeling great, and then he says this. And if you've read Stephen Jobs' biography, you probably know this is very typical of his language. No offense to, we've had a couple of consultants on stage, but this language is great. It's simple, it's focused, it's tight. I could do charts and charts and charts on that you have a tail that's too long. He just said you make a lot of crap. And he said, just get rid of all the crappy stuff and focus on the good stuff. And when we went through the innovation pipeline at Kraft, we had a lot of good stuff and a lot of crappy stuff. And every business team said to us, we've got a lot of crappy stuff and a few good things. So we agreed as a company that we were going to take some big bets behind our big brands and go through that list of 125 items and pick about 10. And we called them big bets, not rocket science. We said, let's get serious. Let's spend behind them. Let's launch them big. Let's use our imagination. Let's reimagine some of our biggest, oldest brands. Let's leverage our strengths. It's very common for companies to throw everything out when they change. We had some incredible strengths. Our R&D organization is world-class. We have some of the greatest brands in the food industry. And our biggest strength was our sales organization. The Kraft sales organization that works with retailers is second to none. And every salesperson I met said to me, if you guys just give us some good innovation, we will deliver great things for you guys. So we really focused on us getting our act together on focus, picking a few big projects, and really that's what our sales force was, our secret weapon, our special sauce. And the big idea was for our sales force to take these big ideas, work with the retailers as partners, and let the innovation come to life with each retailer in a way that helps the retailer build their own business. And I can tell you that of the 10 or 11 we had last year, We had a few that didn't do that, but we had a few that did. One is Mio, which I hope you have on your desk. We also use this story inside Kraft, and we challenged everyone in sales to adopt the spirit of 11. Anyone know this movie, Spinal Tap, right? There's a great scene. You can YouTube Spinal Tap 11. It's one of the funniest movie scenes. Basically, it's a fake band. It's a fake documentary presented as a real documentary, and he says the secret to his success on stage as a guitar player is that his amp dial goes to 11, and that all the other ones go to 10. And then the guy the interviewer says, why don't you just space the numbers out differently? And he looks at him and he goes, no. He goes, mine goes to 11. And that's kind of the whole point. So the rallying cry within Kraft was, think in terms of 11 and make 11 the new standard. Don't shoot for 8 or 9 or 7, shoot for 11. And so 11 became the mantra, and we've had a couple 11s. We've had a few, actually. Mio's one of them. Mio's a $100 million launch for us. It's going to be up for an Edison Award next week, and it was launched really big with retailers. Walmart got behind this like nobody's business with sampling everywhere, displays at the checkout counter. This thing was launched in an incredibly exciting way inside Walmart. Target did a huge tie-in with bottled water to increase their own bottled water sales while bringing the innovation to life. And a lot of other retailers did great things. Velveeta, one of the oldest brands we have. Someone would say, oh my God, is Velveeta still around? Didn't my grandma and grandpa used to make Velveeta? Velveeta, by the way, has unbelievable loyalty amongst people who eat it. And turns out everybody's had it once in their life at one point. And so we launched this line of products called Velveeta Cheesy Skillets. The ads are really quirky. But the real big idea was to work with the retailers. This hits a very, very good price point. This hits a value consumer. Walmart, again, worked with us and partnered with us, and they just blew this thing. They blew it so out of the water on both Mio and Velveeta that we had major supply issues and capacity issues. And when you work in innovation, there's two kinds of meetings that you get invited to. One is when no one's buying your product that's new, and one's when you don't have any capacity. You always want to be at the second one. Neither one is very fun, though, I can tell you that. And the Nielsen people, if they're still here, probably remember some conversations about the forecast for this Velveeta thing, because it just took off like nobody's business. Oscar Mayer, good old Oscar Mayer. We launched a whole line of products called Selects with no artificial preservatives, higher quality meat. We launched Carving Board, trying to simulate leftover turkey, leftover ham. We launched this whole line of Lunchables with fruit, trying to really change the image of Oscar Mayer. And our sales organization had this idea with retailers that says, if you take all these Oscar Mayer new products, we'll give you a cooler, an Oscar Mayer new products cooler, and you fill it up with all this innovation, and it's a win-win for everybody. And we tried it last year. It was a huge success for us. The new Oscar Mayer innovation cooler, such a big success, they're looking at doing it bigger and bigger. Philadelphia cream cheese, another old Kraft brand, we launched a new line of products called Cooking Cream. Cooking Cream, we partnered with retailers to tie it with chicken, tie it with beef, in-store chef demonstrations, cooking demonstrations, recipe demonstrations. These are visuals of the product being placed with meat, with chicken, in all different parts of the store. We did the same thing on A Touch of Philadelphia and a new product that's out right now called Kraft Fresh Take. We actually had some of our biggest retailers tell us that their sales of chicken went up as much as double digits when they did these tie-in promotions. So that's the example of win-win partnerships with retailers. Some recent innovations for us, you guys may have seen, we just went retail with Javalia. Anyone know what a FICA is? It's deliberately vague. It actually means coffee break in Swedish. Johan is our celebrity behind it. Safeway is an example of how many big customers worked with us. And the challenge was, let's work together and make these innovations really, really big. So Safeway probably more than any other retailer, really drove this Gevalia launch. These are some visuals of some of the great things they did behind it. And then there's this one, birthday cake Oreo. At Kraft, we do a lot of research on new product concepts. This was one you didn't need to do a lot of research on, right? Remember the old commercial for Little Caesars? Who wants more cheese on their pizza? Who wants birthday cake filling for their Oreo? This thing is a monster success for us. So much so we had a hard time getting you guys any for this meeting. And you know, we talk about Google Wallet and all this incredible technology. You know, Oreo has like more Facebook fans than any other brand, other than maybe like Coca-Cola. And at the end of the day, there's still power in the good old in-store display, right? And so the sales organization had a contest, who could build the biggest display for the 100th birthday. And at Crest Foods, well, there's one more I'll show you. These are all just ridiculous displays, by the way. Insane. I love this. There's a Walmart one coming up. Yeah, this is a Walmart. Or this is all Oreo cookies surrounding the coolers. But there was a store in Oklahoma, Redmond, Oklahoma, called Crest Foods. And they built the world's largest Oreo display. 1,800 cases of Oreo. And they were selling 500 units a day when this thing went up. So that's taking innovation with the retailer to a really special place. We did the same thing with Planters peanut butter. These are some of the other innovations. We did some big launches with our retailers. And then in our smaller brands, you guys, you know, anyone in the Arizona school heard of the concept of design thinking? It's real trendy right now. And the idea is to really approach product design in the eye of the consumer, the user. Whoever designed the s'more did not follow the principles of design thinking, right? It's actually one of the worst designed product experiences. And we had a brand manager at Kraft who said, you know what? What if we did this? What if we made the marshmallow flat? And you know, marshmallows is not, Target actually used this innovation to reimagine their whole aisle of marshmallows. And we won Vendor of the Year for marshmallows last year at Target. And their marshmallow sales were up like double digits. And you would say, is marshmallows a growth area? It is at Target, because the point is you can grow anything if you use your imagination. And then this whole spirit of innovation at Kraft with our sales organization has also, you know, kind of bled into some other areas. One is growing channels. Kraft is hardwired, like many big CPG companies, to service Walmart and Kroger and Target and the real big traditional retailers. But I mentioned to you the clubs and the dollar stores are where the highest growth is. So we've had to innovate as well with our products to be relevant in those channels as well. And here's some examples of some real big successes. We actually launched a Cracker Barrel cheese in the Northeast. There's a region in the country where the Cracker Barrel is this unbelievable brand. We worked with one of the clubs, developed this product. It was a home run. This Jell-O product, believe it or not, the one on the left and the one on the right have the exact same product inside. But this one change in the packaging based on some consumer research caused the product to be a loser in the clubs to a winner in the clubs. So every little thing matters at retail. Dollar stores, I mentioned, we've been doing a lot of work in terms of getting our products configured right for the dollar stores. And then last but not least, the spirit of innovation has bled into reimagining whole departments, partnering with our retailers, and there's a lot of projects loose within Kraft and with big customers. I'm going to show you a couple of them. We did a big project to reimagine the checkout. Because when you talk to consumers, the checkout experience is not the best. It's not the highlight of your experience. So we did a lot of this before and after, where we had concepts and we did test stores and control stores. And in every case, the retailers we've worked with have seen really, really big increases in their checkout sales. That's one part of the store. I mentioned marshmallows before. Our Oscar Meyer division's done work around lunch and sandwiches, and how do I help the consumer buy all the things you need for a sandwich easier and simpler? And then our cheese division has worked with retailers to reimagine the entire dairy section of the store, because it hasn't changed a lot over the years, and we've done a lot of work with consumers on what it could be. And there's several big customers working with us on some new concepts to segment the cheese and the dairy aisle. And these are some of the visuals. So where are we at? Publicly, we've gotten some great reaction. I think the fact that Lisa found all that out about us online is great. We're feeling today a lot less like we're going to be extinct than we were when our stock was around $22 and $23. One of the Wall Street analysts gave us this feedback in one of their reports about Kraft and about how well we're doing. They gave us an award, Consumer Staples Innovator of the Year. The CAGNY conference was about a month ago. This was some of the feedback from one of the big Wall Street analysts. When I interviewed at Kraft in 2009, I Googled Kraft and innovation, and there wasn't a lot that came up. And so recently we're starting to get more press. And then Fast Company, the magazine with Mike Parker, actually recently wrote a whole article about Mio. It's a great article. It's the five rules for how Mio was developed and launched. And then Walmart recently made Mio their #1 innovation of the year last year, and they named Kraft Innovator of the Year for all their different partners. So for us, those are all symbols and signals that we're getting better at this, and that's really what it's all about. The last thing I'll leave you with is where we are today at Kraft, and that's this word called positive discontent. It's a word that embodies Irene, if you've ever met her. It embodies Tony. It embodies many of us inside Kraft. The concept is about never being happy and never being satisfied, but using that energy to make things better. The best positive discontent story I've ever seen in innovation is this guy, Herb Peterson. Anybody know who? It's kind of obvious what Herb Peterson did here. Herb Peterson invented the Egg Mcmuffin. He owned a whole bunch of McDonald's stores in Southern California, and he was really angry. And guess why he was angry? Because he didn't sell any food before lunch. And he owned all these stores, and he's like, I don't sell any product before lunch. So he was angry, and he invented the Egg Mcmuffin. And the Egg Mcmuffin was launched in 1973. There's a great story behind how he came up with it and how the early ideas didn't quite fly. And it's now a $300 million business that was launched in the 70s. But McDonald's now has a multi-billion-dollar breakfast business because, one guy at the very beginning said, I'm angry and I'm going to make this better. You'll see from Kraft going forward, if you're a partner with us, continued total commitment to innovation. And honestly, the feeling inside the company as the split is about to happen is we're just getting started from where we came from. I know we're at Arizona today, but one of my favorite basketball coaches ever is John Wooden from UCLA, still another Pac-10 school. This quote, by the way, was on his door of his office the day he died, and when he was 99 years old. And I think it just totally embodies how we look at things and how I look at innovation, because it's one of those areas that you literally never master. And then the last thing I'll leave you with is we also want to be known at Kraft is that we're out doing things and trying things. Hopefully that came through clearly today. CPG companies correctly get criticized for overthinking, overstudying, over-researching, and over-analyzing. We want to be a company that does things in market and learns as we go. We think it's powerful. It gets you to a better place a lot quicker. And we want to be known for imagination and reimagination. It's a great concept, and it helps you to avoid this, right? Although according to the museum, it was either a volcano or a meteor. I'm not sure how you can prevent that from happening, but you can certainly avoid it from happening other ways. And that's the story for Kraft. So thank you for listening. And are there any questions?
Hi. How's that? Is that better? Okay.
Yes.
Hi, I'm Elena Levine. I'm a journalist representing National Geographic, and I'm really interested in the innovation, and I really appreciated your talk. My question was, could you describe a little bit about the process of innovation when you work with your partners? Like, I was really interested in the example you gave about the Philly cooking cream being paired with the meats in the stores. And I wondered, at what point do you bring in your retailers into the innovation process? And is there any intellectual property issues associated with bringing them in too early?
So the issue is, when do you talk to retailers? And every person inside Kraft has like mixed emotions, because part of you is like, God, what if I show it to them 2 years in advance, and am I giving away my secrets? The reality is, everyone who's successful in innovation talks to retailers as far as 3 years out. We were not talking to them much at all. I would say today we're probably about 2 years out. And 2 years out is probably a good time to do it. And it's to talk to your retailers about how do we collectively make these innovations as big as possible as we go to market. And it's a different behavior, as you mentioned. It's very uncomfortable for people. But the retailers, the big retailers, do it every day. And I have never in my career seen an example where early collaboration ever backfired. And that's what I tell everybody when they ask me. What else?
Hi, I'm Amanda with the University of Wisconsin Stout. I was recently on your website where I saw the Innovate with Kraft link for consumers to submit their ideas on new products and flavors. And I think that's a great way of innovating consumer engagement. I was just wondering, in what ways has this influenced your products?
Wow, we get a lot of ideas from employees, from consumers. I'll tell you, the best ideas tend to come from sales. The sales organization at Kraft is phenomenal. We have new product teams on each business. Those ideas get fed into the business teams. Sometimes you don't see the idea literally launched, but you might see a new product idea where that suggestion from either inside or outside played some part in it. What else? Any more questions?
Hi, I'm Roberto Orsi from Acento. Ooh. A lot of retail banners, the traditional ones, are not very innovative. And in the area of hyper-localism, where you have different audiences, multicultural, especially so, what would you recommend to a banner who wanted to change that?
Well, first, I actually would not totally agree with the premise, which a lot of the big retailers we work with are innovating. And sometimes under their smaller banners, because that tends to be where the entrepreneurial activity happens. But there are some examples of some big retailers who are missing the boat on multicultural, which was one of the themes earlier this morning. What we do is, when we have these planning meetings, we talk about it. And if we have a good relationship with a true partner relationship, we're comfortable having those conversations. And I've been in several of them. And if you meet with 10 retailers, they're all in different places in terms of really embracing the multicultural opportunity. Any more questions? Yes. Yes. So the question is trajectory from early adoption to mainstream. The biggest, one of the big trends in food right now is that it used to be years. What we've learned now is that everybody watches food television. Everybody watches the Food Network. Everybody reads about food. Food is American culture. We loved food is one of the really positive emotional areas. So you do consumer work now all over the country. Everybody's in tune with these trends, whether it's meatballs, wasabi, whatever the trends are. So the adoption curve has really sped up much, much more than in the past.
Barry.
Yes.
Hi, Barry. First of all, I love the travelogue. I've been visiting stores professionally for 30 years, and I can't get enough of it, so thank you for doing some legwork for me. I wanted to ask you, and it's a great follow-up to the last question, about the life cycle of all this innovation, because if you're adding them with such vigor, you must also be deleting some as a matter of necessity. So can you say something about how you think about that at Kraft and perhaps...
Good question. It's about what happens to the life cycle and what happens as you add all this new stuff. It's why these big bets have to be successful. They have to be good for the retailer. They have to be incremental. But it goes back to the Stephen Jobs quote. There's a lot of crap and a lot of slow-moving SKUs. It's a very, very just system. The products that don't sell get discontinued, and if the new platforms take off, at some point we get more space for them. And sometimes the space comes from us, sometimes it comes from somebody else. If you want to have some fun, go look at the yogurt section in your grocery store and try to remember what it was like 2 years ago, before Greek yogurt. And then if you have any friends who work for General Mills, ask them what's happened to their yogurt business. We've all been through that type of situation, but obviously we want to be the ones creating those new categories and new segments, but what tends to happen is the old stuff gets eliminated. Any more questions? So is it break time now? Yes, sir. Until 3:15? 15-minute break. Thank you very much.